I'm Tim Bakke. Sorry for the delay. We had a little technical difficulty. So I've got about 20 minutes left for a presentation that was booked for a half an hour. But I'm going to walk through some of these slides here and have a conversation about big data. This isn't really about data processing or data science. This is really about how do people interact with data in kind of new ways. So I work for Microsoft. I'm on the Microsoft Surface Hub team. So you may have seen our booth over here. We made an announcement a couple weeks ago about this product. And so I'm just going to kind of land what the product is a little bit and then talk about how big data is sort of unlocked in that context. So people will often ask, how does a 300-pound wall-mounted device fit into the Microsoft ecosystem where we talk about mobile-first and cloud-first technologies? When people think about mobile, they think about a mobile workforce where they have devices in their pockets or in their bags, and that is mobility. So how does this thing that usually goes on a wall or on a cart that isn't very mobile fit into that context? And so what we try to say is that everything is really kind of pinned to the cloud. All of the devices that we work with, we're not mobile because we have this device. We're mobile because we have access to data that is cloud-based, and we're accessing that data from the devices that we have with us. And so how does Surface Hub fit into that world? We see it as a cloud-enabled device as well. So if you go through any of our demos, we talk a lot about where data lives, and that data typically lives in a cloud-based infrastructure that is accessible from wherever I happen to be. I'm able to be as productive as possible at that location, whether I'm on a phone or I'm on a tablet or a laptop or this wall-mounted device. I should be productive wherever I happen to be because the data is available for me to access. And we'll talk about touch a little bit. All of the devices that we have in our pockets and in our bags are largely touch devices these days. We've moved away from a keyboard and mouse centric way of interacting with content and with data, and now we're moving to where this has become sort of the lingua franca of computing. People are growing up in a touch-first world. Students are using tablets more and more and more, and they're expecting people to be able to walk up to a device, a TV or a display, and interact via touch. Pen is another method that we are often very intimate with. We are used to drawing with pen. We're used to moving things around with our fingers. And now the technology is caught up to where that level of capability is available in a digital world. So a lot of large-scale touch devices exist in the market, but what our device is it leverages projected capacitive. So it's the same type of device or the same type of technology that is running your phone, running your tablet. So that when I have this expectation of touch, of fluidity, when I pinch and zoom, when I move things around, and I go to a large display, it's a consistent experience. When I'm drawing on a tablet with a pen or a digitizer, when I go to a large display, it's a consistent experience. We've heard over and over and over again from customers, especially when they're dealing with large-scale applications, they are looking for that familiarity, and anything that blocks that familiarity hurts their ability to do their job. A lot of companies have invested in large-scale touch, but it just hasn't worked out for them. And we're very confident that this technology represents a shift change in how people interact with large-scale pen and touch displays. So these are the core 4 scenarios that we see being used for large-scale pen and touch displays. Brainstorming, storytelling, data visualization, and remote collaboration. And there are a ton of different examples that kind of filter into these different categories across the board. Whether I'm doing brainstorming and I'm storyboarding ideas. As a group, we're huddled around this device and we're drawing pictures and we're moving things around on the display. Or we're doing sessions that are designed for very intense design conversations like charrettes. Or we're using this device to tell a story and showcase information in a new way. These are key scenarios that we see as being unlocked with this new form factor. So today I'm going to talk about data visualization and more around these three core sorts of categories: big data, dashboards, and geospatial. Because we see those as sort of the three main things under the data visualization, under the big data moniker, where these types of immersive experiences are kind of coming about. So the device that we have in market now is built on Windows 10. And we did that for a couple of reasons. One is this operating system allows us a new way of allowing people to interact with the device that is separate from a PC, a personal computer. We're actually creating more of a communal operating system in the sense that these devices are designed to be used in public spaces. Not public in the sense of like a big exhibit space, but communal, where people gather to do work. This device is intended to be there. And typically a PC is a personal computer. I have to authenticate to it. And so we built Surface Hub on the notion that people will want to just walk up and use this device as quickly as possible. And we don't want to put barriers in towards having them to have to authenticate unnecessarily. They have to authenticate to get to things that are important for that person to get to, but the core experiences of being able to whiteboard or call someone, those types of things don't require that level of interaction, that level of authentication. However, because it is Windows 10, it's also a platform. And so you can create all kinds of different rich applications on top of it that are designed for this large-scale device that supports multiple people interacting side by side, shoulder to shoulder on the device itself. So I'm going to go through a couple of examples of some dashboarding examples, and then talk a little bit about more of an immersive experience here in a bit. So this is an example of a digital dashboard. This is built in Power BI, which is a Microsoft product that built around Excel. So all of the data that exists in this dashboard is interactive. I can walk up to it and I can interact with it. I can drill down into the data sets. And it allows me to not only show data in kind of a new way, in that I get charts and graphs. A normal person using Excel can do this dashboard. It doesn't require specialized talent to have to go out and get a report writer to create these reports, because reports typically are snapshots. These are actually dashboards that are pulling real-time data from back office systems. And so when I have this dashboard, I can look at the different things, and I can go up and I can tap and interact with any of those data. So let's say I tapped on one thing and I drill down into, again, real-time information. I've got a mix of different visualizations to make it possible for me to slice and dice the data in a couple of different unique ways. So for instance, let's say I selected one of the categories, Fashions Direct, only the other parts of the dashboard that relate to that Fashion Direct data point will be highlighted. So it allows me to take more of an interactive approach to looking at the data and possibly explaining the data. So there's two sides to this sort of equation when we're talking about data visualization. There's an analysis component where I might be working with a group of people and we're trying to solve a problem. We're looking at the data to try and help us identify that problem or identify a solution to the problem. So we may be doing the side-to-side collaboration on this display, bringing in remote participants to help us unlock some of these questions. Or I might be an individual telling the story of the data, using the data to tell that story. So we see data visualization and big data analysis not just in the concept of analysis, but also as a tool to explain how things may be going in the organization in real time. This is another example. This is actually from a partner of ours that is a nice mix of geospatial and sort of tabular or statistical information. So I've got a visual of the United States, and I'm seeing coffee purchases in convenience stores across the US. But on the display, I can actually zoom in, I can drill in to individual areas. So I can go into the Seattle area. We're very keen on coffee back in Seattle. And I can go to a couple of individual stores, and I can see, again, real-time cloud data pulled from POS systems in these stores I can see what's going on in those different locations. I see one is 7%, I see one is 13%. If I'm interested in learning more about that individual store, just tapping that pin gives me now some trend lines, and I can get another facet, another insight into what's going on with that particular store. But now I say I want to go even further. I want to drill down even further. Now I get my own digital dashboard, very similar to what we're doing in Power BI, but now I can do further analysis based on this one individual store. So from going at this large scale, looking at the entire US, to zooming down into a particular region, to zooming down to a particular group of cities, to an actual store in a very smooth, natural way. No report writing, no big SQL tables, no big, having to wait for a report to come back. Leveraging these dashboards to be able to help me identify what these problems may be and communicate those problems to the people that I'm working with in my office. So these are some general examples of how data visualization can kind of change with this dashboarding approach. But what I want to talk about next is sort of a more of an immersive experience and really focus on big data. So this is an application built by one of our researchers in Microsoft Research called Newiverse. Coming from a software development background, this is one of the most beautiful applications I've ever seen in my career. Every dot you see, so you see two main things. On this side, you see Dr. Dave Brown with his Newiverse application. Every point of light there is a star, and that's actually coming from a database. He's not plotting things, graphically in an image. He's actually plotting all of these stars and planets as data points coming from a very, 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 very large data set. And being able to smoothly move and navigate through this environment. He's supporting multi-touch, so the ability to rotate, zoom in, move around this environment, all through touch. Being able to turn on and off constellations and the art that illustrates these constellations, all from this big display. And again, all of that is data that's just sitting in rows and tables inside of a data set. So each one of those individual elements is a point of data, and this represents, in our mind, a very good example of sort of the immersive qualities that large-scale touch allows you when you're looking at very large data sets. So a couple of examples, but I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what we think is making, what a large screen experience is all about. And there's sort of three facets to it. One is certainly group experiences. We believe that large-scale touch, whether you're doing it for whiteboarding or collaboration or remote folks participating in meetings, we believe that this group experience, whether it's two people standing at the board, a group of people in a meeting room, or remote participants all joined into this common experience, that is a key differentiator. It's a key characteristic of large-scale application development. Another is certainly immersive pen and touch, creating an environment that's truly immersive to the people who are working on it. Especially when you're looking at large format 4K displays, like an 84-inch 4K display, you have a lot of rich capabilities that you can start to use the technology to provide for that data immersion. Think about seeing that star field map and being able to zoom in, literally through pinching and zooming to a particular star, getting data, real-time information about the trajectory of that star. And whatever that data point it may be a logistics for your company, but being able to have that, in a large, responsive display changes the way that you interact with that data. Using pen to identify or annotate is also another key characteristic. And then cloud computing, and certainly for us, Windows 10 is a platform where we're seeing a lot of people wanting to develop because of some of the changes that we've made to our application framework. For those who are unfamiliar, we're leveraging this notion of a common core, and then applications can be built across multiple different devices. So whether it's a large format pen and touch display or it's a small phone display, you're basically leveraging the same back end and the same tools to create both experiences. So these are the three kind of key characteristics that we see for a true large screen application, and really hopefully these immersive qualities, whether it's big data or it's group collaboration. So I kind of went a little fast because we're running short on time. I do have some time for questions if you want to ask. And we were right across the hall here if you wanted to actually get some real-time demos. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What about horizontal tabletop user experience?
I'm sorry?
What about tabletop user experience?
Public use?
Tabletop.
Tabletop, so taking the display and putting it into this format, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that there's definitely use cases for those types of scenarios where you're having digital sand table environments where you're plotting data in a map environment, and you need people to kind of gather around in a 360-degree.
Brainstorming.
Exactly. So I do think that there's definitely use cases for that environment, certainly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You have a question?
Desperately need to persuade someone of the possibility?
I don't know the answer to that question, unfortunately. I don't know. Are the slides going to be available for the attendees to download? I don't have an answer to the question. If you come find me in the Microsoft booth, we'll get you taken care of. Any others? 2 minutes? Well, I thank you for your time and appreciate your patience. It took us a little longer to start, but hopefully this was a valuable time for you all. Thank you.